Welcome to the OK Let's Learn podcast. This is two podcasts in one where we dive into tons of great books and stories, and another where we just dive into tons of different topics. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. So today, let's learn all about crows. Yes, that big black bird. Caw, caw. So annoying. The sound is so distinctive. And hey, this bird can be so annoying and so much of a problem that we created something. We created a doll that's part of our culture. Think about it. We don't even often recognize that stuffed man of hay that pops up all over our country during the fall and the leaves are coming down. What's its name? Well, it's a scarecrow. It's there to scare the crows. So, popular culture, the references are all over the place. I mean, the ones that come to mind of a certain generation are certainly Dumbo and his crow friends that help him out, trying to get him to fly. You had Heckle and Jekyll. And I'll tell you what, you may be thinking right off the bat, well, yeah, what's the difference between a crow and a raven? They're similar, no doubt. They're close cousins. A raven is bigger. It's heavier. It's got a thicker bill, and it's got this shaggy throat feather. But just keep listening because that's the biggest way you're going to tell the difference between a crow and a raven. The raven sound is not the caw, caw. It's not. It's a deeper croaking call. And also, no doubt, if it's regular suburban neighborhood all across North America, it's most likely the crow. The ravens are more found in mountains, forests, and deserts, and wilder settings and habitats. The raven is no doubt associated with the poem Edgar Allan Poe's poem entitled The Raven. And the football team, the Baltimore Ravens, when they ended up moving from Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns became the Baltimore Ravens. There was a poll out there for all the people in Baltimore, and they overwhelmingly picked the Raven as their new team name. Why? Because Edgar Allan Poe ended up spending a lot of his life later on in Baltimore, and he is buried there. But okay, let's learn all about the crow. When I'm walking Jasper, early morning, we go through these woods and then we come out to this field of dreams. It's just the best. It's all these 5 baseball fields, one after another. And invariably, every single morning, I can count on just approaching the field. I can hear them, and they're up on top of this big cell tower looking out below and making their annoying noise. They also love picking out the garbage dumpster near my school. It seems like every morning I pull in and there they are, without a doubt. They don't care that I'm there. They don't care that I walk by. Maybe they'll float up away from the dumpster up into the trees, and they're just like making their cawing noise, just like, get away, leave us alone, let us finish our dinner, in this case, breakfast. But crows, really, there's so much we need to know about them. And we'll start off with something a lot of us have experienced. Suburban neighborhoods, all of a sudden, it's just not 1 or 2 crows. In fact, it's the opposite. Hundreds, in some cases, thousands end up coming up into the trees towards sunset as the evening settles down in a regular neighborhood. And they are so noisy, it's actually scary. But hey, it's basically them all coming to a place for the evening to settle in. And it's like one big party. Everyone's there. Everyone's talking and yapping at the same time, whether it's like, hey, what's new? Wouldn't you believe what happened to me today? Or what? Here's another predator. Look at over here. So eventually, unless there's some kind of threat, and if you've done it, I've done it plenty of times, or just Jasper walking out, they'll all leave to another location and settle then into a different group of trees. They will ultimately quiet down and settle in, and this is their roosting time. This is when they go to sleep. And then once dawn approaches, they're off to their day and they do separate. So there's 40 to 45 different species of crows. The one we're familiar with here in the United States is the American crow. And there's different variations. There's the fish crow that's found along the East Coast and down into the Gulf of Mexico. Then there's the northwestern crow, yes, found in the Pacific Northwest. And then in Europe, there's the carrion crow. And in South Asia, there's the house crow. They come from the family of birds known as corvids. In this family, yes, is their cousin, the raven, but also all the jays, the blue jay. And what are they known above all else is their intelligence. The adults are 16 to 21 inches long, and their wingspan is about 3 feet. Watch a crow fly. It's graceful. It just glides, and when it moves, that wingspan is really long. And you know this, they're bigger than most of the birds we see out there. The robins, the blue jays, the cardinals, they're about 1 pound. Their feathers, yeah, they look black, and they are black. But look closely sometimes if you can get up close in the bright sunlight, and you'll often see different shades of blue, purple, and even like a green shimmering across their feathers. Now that caw sound, I think we know this, but it's important to realize it sounds the same. It just sounds like they're blabbering and they're just making no sense at all. Just the case of just making noise for its own sake. But no, each of those caws are different sounds and they mean different things, whether they're calling because there's dangers, there's predators nearby. They'll actually literally be able to communicate. Yeah, it's an owl, it's a hawk, it's a fox, or maybe it's the opposite. They'll be telling other members of the family or friends that there's food available, that they discovered food, or maybe they're trying to find other family members. Bottom line, each different caw is a different way of communicating with their buddies. I mentioned their intelligence. We'll keep coming back to this. But they can recognize individual human faces in some cases for years. So if you mess with the crow close up, like now I'm getting worried because it seems like every time I come into work and they're right there by the dumpster, well, they won't just recognize me, but they'll warn their buddies about me. Scientists have learned that yes, they're smart. They solve puzzles. They understand cause and effect. They plan ahead. They can count in small numbers. They can use tools. They've dropped nuts into busy streets so passing cars can crack the shells open. Then they wait patiently for the traffic light to change, and then they fly down to collect the food. That's not instinct. That's actual planning. They've also done laboratory studies where they've had crows, they've seen them bend pieces of wire into hooks to retrieve food. So yes, there's scientists out there that study these things. Where do they live? Well, pretty much anywhere. They're just as comfortable near a skyscraper in a deep urban setting as they are in any kind of forest or certainly suburban neighborhood. What do they eat? Again, almost everything. They're true omnivores. They'll eat insects, worms, seeds, even frogs, mice, eggs, baby birds. Ugh. And certainly our garbage or the food that we end up throwing out because, like I said, they are notorious If they can get into your trash, they will. And just like their friends, the squirrels that invade the bird feeders, they'll certainly do that. And yes, they'll, like the squirrels, they'll hide food. In the autumn, they'll bury them. And yes, they'll remember exactly where they hid them. And even more impressively, if another crow is watching them hide food, they'll pretend that they've dug it and hidden it there. And then they'll move on and actually hide it somewhere else. Talk about social intelligence. And like cardinals, which is different than most birds, they are faithful to their spouse. They'll stay together their entire lives. Every spring, the female crow will usually lay about 3 to 6 eggs. She'll stay with the eggs while the male brings her food. And after about 18 days, the eggs hatch and the chicks remain with mom and dad for roughly 5 weeks before taking their first flight. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. They have a nice family unit. The older brothers and sisters, they often stay around to help raise the next year's babies. Really, it's a nice nuclear family, which is not the case for most birds. So when you see that huge flock of them up in the trees, it's all these different families getting together and just sharing stories. And it makes sense, right? Because there's such a great, huge, big community. Like I said, hundreds and thousands. That's because their family, their basic family, nuclear family unit is intact. Very, very interesting. How long do they live? Pretty long, 7 to 10 years. Some have been known to live up to 20 years. And yeah, if they're captive, which is really rare, they could live 30 years or more. The baby crows have a lot of enemies, whether it's a hawk, an owl, raccoon, foxes. But I tell you what, once they're adults and once they're older, they don't have too many predators because, again, their intelligence, how large they are, and they work together. Again, this has been studied. I think we've all observed this, but scientists have called this mobbing. If a hawk or an owl appears, all the other crows will gather around, and yes, they'll make noise really loud, chase it away. Figuratively speaking, a mob mentality. But yes, literally, it's called mobbing. And one final fact about their intelligence, because they've adapted and lived alongside us for thousands of years, they know our routines. It's not just coincidental that they're hanging out by that dumpster because they have learned when the trucks arrive. And it's not just in the early morning before the truck arrives. It's later in the evening, again, when they know that the custodians have put out that trash for the final time. And yes, the scarecrow, it was originally put out there because the farmers realized that they had a problem. The crows loved the fresh seeds. When they would put them out on a farm, they realized that they had to come up with some way to make sure the crows wouldn't destroy their crops. And yeah, the crows right away realized that this was a fake human being. And so the farmers had to get creative, move it around, change their clothes, but the crows would just ignore it and just hang out there, right there on the arms of a typical scarecrow. So let's wrap up our podcast, going over some fun facts, some interesting things you would never know. What's a group of crows called? Well, you got the flock of geese, you got a school of fish, pride of lions, a murder of crows. Yikes, that's what they've been traditionally called, although today scientists usually will refer to them as a flock of crows or a roost of crows. They hold funerals. Yes, when there is a crow that passes away, you may see this. Other crows flock around it, and you think that they're mourning, but scientists actually believe that they're doing more than that. They're just investigating, finding out what happened, seeing if the area is dangerous. Some people feed crows and they've noticed that they've brought them gifts or what seems like gifts. Scientists haven't figured this out, but if you've experienced this, if you know this, you heard it, they'll bring shiny rocks, buttons, little pieces of jewelry. It's actually very interesting. The young guys, they love to play. Scientists have noticed this. They'll slay down roofs with a little twig in their mouth. They'll throw it up in the air and then they'll come back and pick it up and do the same thing over and over. They are surprisingly clean. They're always bathing in puddles. And yes, believe it or not, if you've ever seen them rubbing themselves in the ground, they're actually rubbing ants on their feathers. Scientists actually think that these ants may help remove some parasites. So the next time you see a crow and you think, like I have always thought, oh, here they are, they're making noise, they're annoying, they're just doing it randomly just to bother us. But no, they are actually talking to their friends. Here comes Mr. O'Keefe. Here comes Jasper again. If you walk past one on the sidewalk, next time you see one, it may actually recognize you before you recognize it. Think of that. Friends, thanks for taking this journey with me, learning all about crows. Reach out to me at kevmok21@gmail.com. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We are on any podcast platform that's out there. So subscribe, follow, and I always love the reviews and the ratings. Until next time, have fun and keep learning.